Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. I am Bill McMinn. Along with me is Steve Sargent. Now, I love Steve being here. Steve, we've been doing, and we've talked about it before, probably since 2016. We were doing radio shows together, like every 3 weeks, it seemed like to me. And then when we left that and started doing our own podcast, then Steve, come on, man, let's do podcasts together, right? Yeah. So it's been a while. Yep. So it's like we're in 7 years working together. Now, one thing that I do know about you, and I noticed that when you came in here, is you got a shoe collection, because I'm looking at your Chucks that you're wearing right now, these Converse shoes. Is that like mud color? Like what color? Is it gold?
It's a gold like color.
It's gold. Well, I'm colorblind, so I couldn't tell if it was like gold or brown.
Oh.
Is it mustard color?
Yeah,
is it like dark? But it's stadium mustard.
It is a mustard like gold. Yeah.
But more of a stadium mustard, I think, not like a yellow gold.
Yes.
So can you flip them up on the table here?
No. I have about a dozen. And when I go to other cities, I collect. I spent an hour in the Converse outlet, don't tell anybody, in one section, debating about 3 different pairs of shoes, and they were like $20 a piece, no kidding. And
I love them.
I bought like 3 pair.
Yeah, they don't have much of arch support.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like about them. They don't have like real good arch support.
They're real comfortable for me.
But they're good. Yeah, they're good. But it matches your shirt.
Yeah, I think,
and I like that.
I have a problem like that.
And your hat.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
You're matching. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what you got to do, because, you're looking someday for a missus. So you got to match.
Well,
like,
look,
me, married guys, my shoes don't have to match the rest of me. You know what I mean? It just,
I've been that way most of my life. I just have a thing about it. And I do realize it doesn't matter that much to people. It's probably some kind of, I'm sure they'd have a term for it in the other
shoe addict
fields. No, I mean like matching. Color coordinating.
We have CR. No, listen, man. This is me. This is how bad I am. Like, I'm just so busy. Like, I do love Converse, and I actually thought about getting a different color. I would like black and gray.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere I'm like, well, black goes with everything. So you can make fun of me. It's like, Bill, your shoes match your shirt too. Yeah, I know. You're right. I'm crying. I should have done something differently. But no, I'm just busting your chops. That's because your one buddy, Elijah Wan, wanted me to, actually.
Oh, yeah. He told me about that.
Yeah, he said, you got to keep him uncomfortable. That's the secret to the show. Keep Steve uncomfortable. You're going to have a good show.
You make me uncomfortable when you talk about the Browns. So...
Yeah, well, that's coming up in other shows. We're going to be doing that. I don't know. They didn't even have a draft pick till the 3rd round. It's kind of sad. But anyway, one of the things I was thinking about today, I was reading this in my Bible reading in Mark, and they were talking about the seed sower parable. So seed sower parable is like farmer gets out there, plants the seed. Remember the soils, right? Mm-hmm. Hard ground, that's the path. And then there's weedy soil, and there's shallow soil, and there's good soil. And then they're like, what does that mean, Jesus, right? And then he starts talking about the hard soil. And he said that basically what happens when that happens is the sower sows the word. And these are the ones along the path. And where the word is sown, they hear. Satan immediately comes and takes away the word that is sown in them. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Like, Satan comes in like a bird, coming and eating the seed that's on the path, because it's so hard. The bird just comes and gobbles it up. Yeah. That the gospel about Jesus Christ can hit somebody's heart, and their heart be so hard that Satan comes right in and plucks it.
Yeah, it never gets a chance to take root.
Right.
So therefore, the impact of the gospel is never felt in their lives.
Right.
And a lot of times in those situations, those people will have a tendency to believe it's not true, it's not real, because it never penetrated their heart.
Right. That's true. But what do you think about Satan's interest in it? Why not leave it alone? I mean, if you're Satan, why not just leave it alone?
Well, because he has a job. His job is to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right.
And no better way to do it than to stop the seed from ever penetrating, growing, germinating, and becoming a full-fledged change in their lives. Let's get it before it ever gets to them.
Right. So what's he afraid of?
He's afraid of what that person can become.
Right.
And they would become a threat to him.
Right.
And his object and his job description and his kingdom.
Right. Absolutely.
So he's good at what he does.
Right. He doesn't want, it seems to me sometimes that Satan understands the value of the gospel better than we do.
You're exactly right.
Don't you think?
I agree with you.
Because if we've gotten so used to it, and by the way, could I be guilty of this? Absolutely. You're so used to the gospel. I've been hearing about it since I was probably 4 years old, maybe 5. You hear about it your whole life. Mm-hmm. It's so in you, it's so absorbed in you, you almost forget there are a lot of people who don't have that. There's a lot of people that don't think like that. Like they don't have that transformed thinking. They're not thinking, let's say, to be loving or be a servant like Jesus Christ was, or the morality, the 10 Commandments, all these kind of things, the power to change life is just not in there. And for him, Satan so values that seed and is so concerned about it, he's going to pluck it every chance he gets.
Yes, he understands the value and the power of the gospel.
Yes.
And that's the thing we should look at. Like, wow, he knows how potent it is.
Right.
If he allows it to just, germinate, to be planted, grow, and develop in a person what they will become. So he has to try and stop it even before it gets to that point.
Right. It amazed me to think about that, that the power of evil, like a personal thinking, scheming power, is going to come in and snatch that seed because they're fearful of what it would do. Yeah. Now, if Satan is afraid of the gospel, we should be equally that much in love with it,
yes,
and that much trying to promote it, because he understands this, the change agent. We need to understand that's the change agent too, that this is something that can truly transform a person's life. Yeah. If you're going to come to faith in Jesus Christ.
That's right. The gospel of the kingdom is dynamite.
Right.
It destroys it. It's like that secret weapon.
Right.
Like during World War II when we developed hydrogen and atomic bomb. And it was like a secret. Nobody else had it, and we had it. And we were able to really end the war a lot faster than what we would have, especially with Japan. And that's what the gospel is. And the devil knows it. Satan knows that. He knows the power that it has. Because the gospel is the birth, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That's the story that conquers the devil.
Right.
And he knows that. He doesn't want people to take hold of that and understand the power in that, because their lives will change forever if they ever allow it to really grow in them and they experience, Jesus Christ like that. And so he has a real serious mission to stop that from ever happening.
Right. I agree with you, brother, 100%.
The devil's, or the Satan, whatever you want to call him, his biggest power is to just make us not believe.
Right.
Just not believe that. Oh, that's not true, or that's not real. And he'll have a lot of different reasons for us to think it's not real, or it doesn't really work, or it's just not for me.
Right.
It may have worked for mom or dad, but it's just not for me. That was then. It doesn't happen now. And when he can convince us of that, then, he's winning.
I think we have to be aware of it. One thing I was teaching in theology in this year, and they were talking about God's work and making angels, and we were talking about Satan. And one thing the theologian was cautioning about, and he's writing his book, is you don't want to overthink about it. Mm-hmm. You want to be aware of it. You don't want to give him too much credit. I think for some people, they're giving Satan way too much credit because they think he's every little thing. If somebody sneezes, that's the devil. If somebody, I'm being absurd, but seriously, if your husband has an anger problem, he's got a demon. Yep. If your wife has, if she's moody, she's got a demon. Like, we need to get that demon out of there. And sometimes you can start causing a lot of damage when you're misdiagnosing people spiritually and what's going on.
That's exactly right.
And I think for us, like, I have to be the one not saying, that's Steve. You ought to heard him. Mm-hmm. He's got a sneaker demon in him. I know he does. He's him and these sneakers. You know what I'm saying? I just know there's some problem with it. It's not my place. I need to evaluate my own life.
Right.
Not be sitting there looking at you and thinking about you, and the devil's doing this. Like, no, you better. That's what the devil wants you to do. The devil wants you. If he's going to win, he's going to have you looking at everyone else but you,
and not seeing your own self. I heard a story once where the devil was complaining, like, I'm sick and tired of everybody just lying on me. Right. You blame for everything, and everything's not him, really.
Well, look, here's the fact. I mean, we have temptation because of our own lust and evil desires. And that says it right in James 1. That's when we're enticed. One time I was trying to do the math when there was like 6 billion people on the planet, and how many places Satan would have to be at one time if everyone was tempted 6 times a day, which is not unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If every single person on the face of the earth experienced 6 temptations, and we're going to blame it all on the devil, how fast would he have to move? Yeah. To get that done? And it was completely unreasonable for a creature that has to be in one place at one time. Now there is demonic activity, there is evil for sure. And it says in talking about the armor of God, it says that in all circumstances, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. So obviously your job is a shield of faith to protect yourself from those darts that Satan is going to take, because evil is going to throw stuff at you. And I do believe the devil pitches stuff at people.
Oh yeah.
Don't you?
Yes. He does.
To discourage.
Yeah, because to throw you off your mission, your goal. Like I said, if he can just get us to not believe, and belief can involve discouragement. We can get off focus with anger and other issues that naturally come our way and become overpowering and overbearing in our walk with God, and it can throw us off our path, and we forget. I can tell a story once when I used to work. Into my other life. So we had a staff meeting. And so one of our supervisors were instructing staff on policies and what have you, got into an argument with another staff member to prove something that was going on in the kitchen that we weren't doing. So they storm out of the room to go to the kitchen to show, like, this is what's not happening there. Meanwhile, there was a person that we serve who was having an episode, like an anxiety attack or something, and couldn't breathe. They stormed by them, going to the kitchen to settle this little frivolous argument, while this person was, they weren't dying, but it looked like it. They definitely needed medical attention, and just went by him 2 times, never saw it. And that's what the devil does to us. Just throw us off enough to where we can't see the real calling and mission and focus of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that could be getting you in a fight with a friend or a spouse, and then suddenly your mind's off the gospel or praying or helping because you're so consumed with a little problem that was over whatever, you said or didn't say, and pretty soon you're missing the point.
Yeah.
Totally. But he said that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against cosmic powers over this present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That is a real potential for there to be evil out there. And I think that we just need to be aware of it. And I think social media with temptation, just be aware of it. You don't know. This world, Martin Luther, and he wrote that song, "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God," right?
One of my favorites.
It wasn't part of the wording, this world with devils filled or something to that effect. There are definitely problems. So why couldn't Satan influence somebody who's not even a believer, somebody who's far away, to come give you a hard time or come bring temptation in your life or send you their way because they're trying to distract you from your powerful job of being a good witness and a good light?
Yeah. Because that's what he does. And you can see,
so be aware.
You see throughout the Bible, even great people like the prophet Elijah, obviously like the disciples, especially Peter, who were great men and had great callings and great missions on their life, who either fell into the discouragement realm or the unbelief realm, or in Peter's sake, in this case, he actually denied knowing who Christ was. And so the devil can do that. As we can't depend on our own power and experience alone to have a relationship with God. We depend on Jesus Christ to have that relationship.
But greater is the one that's in you than the one that's in the world. And again, a lot of these things where I want to focus on my life and just be aware in my own life that, hey, there can be problems. I don't want to be pointing out to everyone else, you have this problem. I think that, to me, I remember in the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, that one of the distractions and it was, the whole theory was, it's just a story, okay? It's fiction. It was just his musing from C.S. Lewis of how evil might try to trip you up. So every demon had a responsibility for someone. So this one, Wormwood, his whatever person he was supposed to be watching over becomes a believer, and what? Well, make them focus on everyone else's sin. Like that's what they need to do. Make them look at all the things that he doesn't like about, his mother in this case, all the things that she does to annoy him. And then pretty soon you're going to be, instead of showing her the love that you should be showing her, all you're thinking about is all the things she's doing wrong. And you're so spiritual because you can see this now. I can see how bad you are.
Right.
And you're walking past obvious opportunities to actually live the Christian life. Because the Christian life is not about me evaluating you and telling you how bad you are.
Mm-hmm.
The Christian life is supposed to be, I'm supposed to be serving. I'm supposed to be loving, right?
Yes, that's right. And that's what Jesus said by this, that all people would know that we're his disciples. It's the love that
Love
we
one
have.
another.
And it doesn't mean you're in total agreement or I agree with what you're doing or how you live, but the love I have for you through Jesus Christ in me is stronger than how I may disagree
Right.
with whatever you're doing or what your opinions are, etc. And Christ can do that in us to the
Right.
point where you can take maybe what we look at and say the most evil or wicked person, and they encounter the love of Jesus Christ in us.
Right.
At a minimum, it'll give them something to think about.
Right. I would agree 1,000% on that one too. He was saying, see, the screw tape letters are super interesting.
Okay.
They deal with all kinds of ways that a person can face temptation. And he was spelling out like one of the things is, and it was during World War II, but it's so current even for today, because he said one of the things that you can get caught up into is the nationalism or the side of, we're on this side. And pretty soon, as a Christian, I need to be on this side for us in our day of the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what all your writing's about. And he said, pretty soon you've forgotten the whole mission of Christ.
Yeah.
You've forgotten everything you're supposed to be doing because you're so caught up. And they said, that's what Satan loves for you to do, is just get caught up on these radical elements, these more radical thoughts, and just put all your time and energy into that, ripping on anybody who's the counterpart and the opposite. Mm-hmm. And your time is no longer really into the Word of God. You think you're following the Word of God and doing it, but then you're actually supplanting the Word of God.
Yeah,
by just finding truths to support your side or where you feel you fit in, right?
Yeah, that's a very good example.
Right.
Because it's easy to get caught up in things like that.
Right.
But to stay focused on what Christ has called us to, and the closer we are to him, which is through his word, prayer, and things of that nature, the less likely we are to get distracted by some of the things that are going on, even things that may, perk our interest, but we stay focused on him, and we see, even in those things, an opportunity to let the love and the light of Jesus Christ shine.
I think you're on to it there with the light and love of Christ. Like, that's my job. Jesus Christ came full of grace and truth. Yep. And the things that I need to be full of are grace and truth. And when you have, I'll hear people telling me, they put up something Christian, and next thing you know, a non-Christian writes on it, and a bunch of other Christians are just ganging up on them and basically telling them they're going to hell and, eternal damnation awaits. And it's like, and that's the way, you want to witness to the world? Why don't you just say, hey, we really care about you. We'd love to invite you to come out, to church and see what it's all about, and not get into attacking defensiveness. I think a lot of times people, one thing I've noticed, because I'm a pastor and I've been in church for years, I've been in church since I was a kid, I'll hear people describe church and wonder, what are you even talking about? They honestly think the church just sits around sometimes, I think, and talks about transgender, talks about gays. That's all we talk about. We just sit around, where in fact is those topics rarely ever come up. We're not sitting around bashing people of anybody. We're not bashing Democrats. We're not bashing Republicans. We're not bashing anybody.
Right.
We're just inviting people to come to Christ and teaching you practical truth on how to live. Yeah. Hey, here's what the church is. That's what we're on right now. Here's why it's important. I'll be talking to moms and leaving a legacy of faith. It's not about bashing. We're not sitting up there, spewing hate. It's, some radical right wing. I think everyone sees the most radical position that they can find and then paints all of us.
Yeah. That's right.
We
all catch it. That's true. Right. But when you look at the life of Jesus and see how he approached people and how he was approached by people, even people he disagreed with or lifestyles he disagreed with it, he handled it with a love, a divine love. Right. And with an ultimatum. Right. Not like, oh, you're bad, you're doomed to hell, leave me alone. Right. He never said that. Right. Even though it might have been true. Right. He never said it. His approach to them was that of hope, transformation, and not just by what he said. Crowds followed Jesus like a rock, like he was a rock star, not because, okay, he was a great speaker. It's what he did.
No,
we saw people
right.
hungry. He fed them.
Right.
Like he didn't have to go to the food pantry.
Right.
He worked a miracle for everybody to eat. And it wasn't like, well, if you believe I'm Christ, come stand on this side and you're going to eat, and the rest of you, and you just go home.
Right.
Whoever was in the audience,
Right.
regardless,
Right.
he fed them all.
Right. He cared. He was also a man of prayer. And I think that was one thing. If you want to defeat evil in your life, I would battle. I'm not saying you have to be on your knees. I'm just saying I would pray. We say it a lot of times as if all prayers on the knees. I think just pray. You know, whether you're walking and praying, you're kneeling and praying, you're sitting and praying, just pray. I think prayer is the way to win.
Sure is.
You've got to be praying for your situation. I mean, we need God's help. We really do. And that shield of faith is what extinguishes the flaming darts of the evil one. That's what it is. It's just my faith. It's my confidence in God, right? So anyway, well, I appreciate you coming in and helping us with this podcast and talking about a few of these things. So value the gospel. I mean, that's one thing I would say from this one. You know, love people like Jesus Christ. Don't sit there and look at everyone else and what they're doing wrong. I think that's what evil would love us to do. What we need to do is evaluate our own lives. Where are we? Are we praying? Are we reading our Bibles? Are we doing the things that we should be doing? Right. So have a great and a blessed week.